The Michael Berry Show.
Corporal Galloway was a member of the team of Precinct 5 Constable Ted Heap, who retired in December after a 40-year celebrated career in law enforcement. And he's our guest. Constable Ted Heap, welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, Michael. Thank you for having me on.
So you will appear this morning at, I guess, 10 o'clock the trial begins?
That is correct. A long time overdue.
And what is the story you have to tell? What will you say?
Well, I think that they're probably, to begin the trial, is going to want me to paint a picture of who Charles Galloway was, who Chuck was as a person, as an officer. They may also have me to take the role of identifying officer, meaning to look at some of the photographs, to be able to spare the family the pain of doing that, since that night, of course, I was there, and it's all fresh in my mind like it happened yesterday.
And who was Chuck Galloway?
You know, Chuck was one of these people that I don't care how long your career was. When you start telling stories, he's gonna pop up. There's gonna be a story about him. Chuck was one of these. He was like a magnet as far as personality. Big man, 6'3", 4, probably 6'4", huge. Blocked out all the light when you walked down a hallway. Kind of flat top haircut and had a smile from ear to ear. So Chuck was one of these that was not only a part of the department, but an instrumental part in training new deputies, bringing them on, and he was the type that everybody wanted to go to breakfast with at 2 a.m. when you worked night shift, because you were sitting around the table with Corporal Galloway, and not only were you were important, but it was all about learning the job. And when the time came and breakfast was over, his favorite phrase was, "Let's all get back to work." And they'd get up and head back out. So he's a very highly respected individual.
So the shift would be over at 2, or that would be when you go to eat a meal at 2?
No, that's when he would go to eat a meal. His shift, actually, if I'm not mistaken, was either a 10 to 6, 10P to 6A at the time, or it could have been an 11 to 7. I don't recall.
So when you work in 10 to 6 or 11 to 7 and you go eat at 2, do you eat breakfast food?
Well, it's been about 30 years since I've worked that shift, but yeah, usually it's breakfast food. Absolutely.
So what happened with Charles Galloway to cause you to need to be in court today?
Well, it's one of those things, as I said, that you never forget. When you get those phone calls at 2 a.m. and you roll over in bed because your cell phone never goes off, you can't turn it off. So, when the phone rings and your wife rolls over out of bed and decides it's time to go make a pot of coffee, because she knows what that phone call is, and so you get the information. You get the information from the supervisor on the scene of what has transpired, and you get dressed as quick as you can, and you try to get out to the scene. And that's what happened that night. Roll out of bed, get dressed, make the scene, from the scene to the hospital, and then just a whirlwind of stuff after that, trying to find this guy.
But talk, if you would, about what this turd did to Charles Galloway.
Well, I can say that it was one of the most violent acts in over 40 years that I've ever seen. For Chuck not even to have the opportunity to get on the radio, matter of fact, couldn't even put his car in park. When this guy decided to get out and unload with a quite, I guess I'd say, impressive grouping right through the front windshield on him. So, and because he was unable to call out, and because of the time of day, we had an extended amount of time before help could get there, because it was a matter of having the public or somebody else call in that, there's a patrol car sitting on the side of the road smoking because of the damage that had been done to it by a high-powered rifle.
And then the search began. I remember when y'all apprehended him, you used Charles Galloway's handcuffs. I thought that was a nice touch. So Galloway got the last laugh. Talk about how he was found.
Well, it was, as you ran that clip to begin with, it was extensive effort between so many different agencies. I mean, you had the Violent Offenders Task Force, you had the U.S. Marshals, who were able to reach out, nationally on some of this stuff, because we had an idea that he was going to be trying to flee. If I'm not mistaken, Oscar Rosales, probably by another name, 20 years prior, from what I was told, had a capital murder charge in another country. So he had been over here for a while. I don't know if he was charged in his original place of origin under Oscar Rosales, but he took off, and with the use of some of the flock cameras and trying to trace where he was, and then eventually finding out what side of town he was kind of moving to and from, and getting a hold of his, tracking down his relatives and things of this nature. So they were able to track him as he made his way towards the border, and then as he crossed the border.
Constable Ted Heap, I know you have to go in. You're getting ready for the trial. Go make us proud and speak for Charles Galloway's family. Appreciate you, my man.
All right, thank you, Michael.
The Michael Berry Show.